Hello and welcome to this week's Damp Show with me, Damp Sam. It's another reaction video and I hope you're going to enjoy it. Today we've got a surprise for you because it's Damp Sam the Man meets Jack Parrish, and it's a play on Damp Sam meets Man. It's a play on Man to Man meets Man Parrish. And if you can remember that song, that's back in I think it was 80s, and it goes a bit like this. High energy. So yeah, and again, put my keywords in, and it was renovations, damp, and old Jack Parrish has come up. Tell you a little bit about his video. The video's called House Renovation Vlog 2, No More Damp, in brackets, hopefully. It's had 281 views. So unlike a lot of other videos that I do, that's got, thousands and thousands of views, this one has only got a few views, but he's got 120. He's got 1,200 subscribers, and it was made 11 months ago. And it says, after his title, it says first time buyer. So the reason why I thought I'd have a look at this one is because there's a lot of people who are going to be getting on housing chain, or are going to start renovating property, and they've never had a property before. So I'm going to watch this video and see whether Jack makes any mistakes, and I can sort of point them out so people can look at them and go, yeah, right, well, he says it's this way, Sam says it's that way. So I'll just follow it and do some constructive criticism for all you out there. And there might be a bit of swearing, and there might be a bit of comedy moments, shall we say, if I say out that's funny. I might not see out that's funny, and it might be right boring. So, shall we get into it? Come on, Jack. Let's have a look at you.
Hello, welcome back to another renovation vlog.
Hello, Jack. Jack sounds a bit like Amph Parry. I wonder if they're related. Must be from the same part of the country.
The 19th or 20th of August. It's a Saturday, as you might know, I work Monday to Friday, so weekends
Didn't know that.
are my only real opportunity to come and do any meaningful stuff down here. And today, the plan is to start getting some plaster off the walls. Let me show you.
Good idea.
So you'll have seen in the other vlog where we've taken off the skirting board and
Straight away, he's got a timber floor, and I can see, as everybody else can, just above his hand, it looks like there's a watermark. It don't look as if it's rising damp, because it's a different type of staining for rising damp. I'm not saying it's not, but in my experience, it doesn't look like a rising damp pattern of staining. There's no salt. It doesn't look as if there's a salt band, and it looks straight away to me as if there's. I mean, I wouldn't know what's on the other side of that wall. It could be a party wall. It could be an external wall. But I'd say that there's been a inadequate ventilation in the subfloor, because it looks as though he's took them timbers up, which were probably rotten, and he's took them up to have a look what's underneath, and it looks like there's probably some bridging. Now, I don't know how old ours is. There could be a physical damp course in it. There might not be. But to me, that pattern of staining looks just like low-level damp and a bit of bridging.
Anticipation. Where you can see no skirting board, that's where the plaster has to come off up to 1 metre high. So this wall, as you can see, damp, needs to come off. That wall actually is okay. It needs to come off around here, and here, and here, and all inside there, and then all the way down there. About halfway along this wall here, down to the door, and the same on the other side. And then
So it's being quite specific in the areas that are having to come off, which kind of tells me that he might have had a survey done, and they might have provided him with a plan saying which walls are damp and which walls need hacking off. So when we do a survey, I'll put a plan in, and it's colour coded, and you can see which walls we're quoting for and which walls we're going to be working on. And then so the report, it'll tell you exactly what we were going to do. So he looks like he's probably done a bit of research, and obviously with startup video, it looks like he's going to do it on his own. So he's probably had a survey done, and he's got a plan, and he thought, I'll hack that off myself, and I'll have a go at it myself. That wall they were pointing at the back, we can see now that is the front window. So it's either a party wall, or it's an end terrace, or it's a semi. So it could be an external wall. We might see later on. So let's carry on with the show.
Then finally, up to the fireplace there, and then all the way back into that corner, and probably a little bit in there as well. It needs to come off the walls. So that is the plan. I also want to show you, I went to Screwfix, and I have made my first sort of practical purchase, which is all of the sockets and switches throughout the house. We have a vast array of sockets in the house. So the kitchen ones look like this.
Quality.
And moving through to the rear reception room, we have these delightfully mucky chrome ones, and then through
Standard.
in the front reception room we have these very 90s brass ones that are being painted on.
Even better.
So I really want to replace them.
Nice, then we'll get a bit of rust on.
Rather than going for anything fancy, I don't really believe in making like sockets and switches a feature, because to me I'd rather them be as hidden as possible, because they're not aesthetically pleasing.
If they're hidden, you might not be able to find them, especially in dark. They will be hidden in dark, but reason why you'd have lights standing out is it's probably so you can find them easy.
So I've just gone for pure plain white ones, the ones that are sort of a little bit curved, as you can see there. So not the cheapest, probably like second cheapest, but they decent quality, so they won't shatter when you fit them, or if they get knocked into, but also, not ridiculously expensive. So I've bought every single light switch, socket, and whatever in the house, including the pool switches in the bathrooms, and it's cost me £80.04, so really not a huge amount of money. Whereas if I was to go for chrome ones, you'd at least be probably doubling that, really. So yes, that is what I have purchased. I bought myself a meal deal because it's lunchtime, so I'm going to eat that. And
I'm just commenting on age at property. So just looking up, because I never switch off, always at work. So just looking up, I can see that they've got like a cornice, the coving that goes around. It's a cornice, and it's a type of cornice that you'd get in a Victorian property. So I'm tipping that this is an old Victorian terrace or a Georgian terrace. I'd say it was Victorian with look at that cornice. So that was just a little clue that that might give away the age of the property. He can get his meal deal now.
Then we can start getting some plaster off the walls. But I think what I'm going to do first is actually go more.
And reason why I know that it's an older property is because that cornice has been run on the wall. It's not a cornice that you've bought and stuck up. It's actually been run on the wall.
the neighbours, because I am going to be basically hammering against the party walls, and it's not really fair of me to do that without letting them know.
I thought he were hacking plaster off then, and it looks as though he might be stripping paper off, and there's a black paint behind it. Or is it? Is he hacking it off? Is it plasterboard? Oh, it's plasterboarded. So that looks like it's been. It's got some kind of waterproofing, bitumen paint on it, or it could be dry base. But I'm tipping with age. Well, I don't know if it's been dry lined over. It could be dry base. It looks like it's got some kind of DPM on it, painted on DPM, and then they've dry lined up at top using gypsum based drywall adhesive, because you can see dots, and where that patch was happens to be where the dots were. So if you're gonna do any hacking off, it's always best to draw a line above, to height of where you're gonna hack off, and then probably start at that line so you can, either knock it out with a chisel so that you get a straight line, and then you can work your way down rather than work your way up. I mean, it might be easier for him to, because he's been able to pull, but what might happen is he might end up loosening all the plasterboard. Now, he might be taking all plasterboard off, but he said he was going to just take it off to a metre, didn't he? So he needs a nice, straight, clean edge to work to. So I'd have hacked it off with a chisel. Tearing it with his bare hands. Surely he'd have YouTubed this and he'd have seen that it were easier to use an hammer and chisel. Has he got one now? It's like, it's bullet. Oh, fucking hell, it's all come off. Oh no, you're only going to go a fucking metre. Poor cunt. Oh, now he's going to have to buy a skip and put all that shite in. I don't know if you noticed then, we'll see when we go back, but he's pulled them boards off, and it looked as if somebody already hacked off a metre high, and then they'd put the waterproof paint. I don't think it's a membrane. I think it's some kind of waterproof slurry up to a metre. So that might be a kind of win-win for him.
Right, well, I've already learnt one lesson, and that is use a crowbar.
Hammer and nicker, mate. Fucking hammer and nicker, not a crowbar.
Hopefully I was able to slow back down the footage a little bit at the moment at which the plasterboard fully came off the wall. As you saw, I started off with my hands and it was just coming off in little chunks, and I also dug up some of the rubble that was under the floor because it was on top of cables, and as you know, we'd have a problem with the electrics and stuff.
Thought you were digging an oil. You know what I mean? I have to be a detective, didn't I?
Waiting for the electrician to come out. It's not an emergency, so he's on with other jobs, understandably, as no one is living here. But yeah, the crowbar got him down within a couple of minutes. It was all down, and look at it. It is heavy because it's plasterboard with plaster on top of it, and I am not the strongest of people. I can lift about 70 kilos at the gym on the machine. That's my sort of No, I'm lying to you. I can't lift 70 kilos. I can lift like 50 kilos.
You're not ready. You're not ready, as Arnie'd say.
So, worse. Um, nice try, Jack. No, I weigh 70 kilos, but I can lift 50. That's why I was tripping up there. Anyway, irrelevant. I managed it, but it wasn't hugely easy for me to shift that into that location. But as you can see, in the past, they have obviously been trying to deal with damp, and what they've done is they've chiselled off the plaster for the bottom meter, painted this waterproof paint, which is the black stuff, and then dot and dabbed over the top with plasterboard. That's called dry lining, and that is often an effective way of preventing damp. However,
It can be an effective way of preventing damp if the boards are stuck on with a waterproof adhesive, like dry grip adhesive, not a gypsum-based, drywall adhesive. That's what I'm looking for.
by using dot and dab, it's allowed moisture to ingress into the timber. What you need to do is fully membrane the walls, not just paint them in this coating. You need a layer of membrane to stop damp coming through. And
You don't, not necessarily. What you'd have to do is just get a specialist in to diagnose each damp area as you see it, because not all damp is rising, as somebody once said. Every bit needs looking at separately. So always get a specialist in, kids.
then you apply timber battens over that as opposed to dot and dab, because the membrane is not capable of holding up dot and dab, and then plasterboard over the timber battens, and that's what my damp specialists are going to do. And it
Oh, so he's got damp specialists come in. This is going to be interesting, isn't it?
should work. If it doesn't work, then there's not really another solution to it.
So if he's saying could, should, it sounds like someone's guessing. So it sounds like he's had a survey then. So I'm going to rejig everything. He's had a survey done. They've gave him a plan, and he said to save money, I'll probably knock it off. So they've said he wants knocking off here, 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 and here, and then it don't look as if he's marked it up. But what I'd have done, I'd have even marked it up for him. So I'd have got my tape measure out and I've drawn it, and then they can cut it off where it's needed. Let's get on with it.
Because that membrane is like a physical barrier, whereas a layer of paint, that I don't even know that's waterproof paint, I'm just guessing that it is. It's not going to work, and clearly it hasn't worked because you could see the size of the damp patch that was at the bottom there.
Reason why you get a damp patch at bottom is, one, your dots are cold bridging. So where your dots touching wall, that wall's cold. I'm assuming that condensation's going to have formed on that waterproof paint, slurry, whatever it is. So at times of high humidity, water vapour will have gone through the plasterboard and condensed on that cold wall, and that might have made the dots colder. The other thing is, the dots being on the wall and touching the wall, the dot itself will be colder, so condensation can form on that dot. But one of the things I think is there'd have been a gap at the bottom, and you've got a subfloor, and you've got ventilation going into a subfloor, and that's cold air usually, and that cold air will go up the back of the plasterboard and create a cold spot, and condensation will form on that cold spot, hence the watermark, the damp watermark.
So anyway, that's come off. I've also started chipping away at the plaster in the hallway. Let me flip you around. Will Apple allow you to flip the camera around during the same video without having to stop and restart?
They never do with mine. So I'm fingers crossed here he's found a hack and he can do it, because whenever I've been filming, when I've tried to flip round, that's why I use this other app where you get a picture of me and you get the film as well. So if he's got a solution to the age-old problem for Apple phones, let's hear it. Come on, let's hear it. Jack. Hiya, DampSam here. Did you know, if you want to watch a full unedited version of this, if you become a Damp fan, $2.99, which is as much as an expensive cup of coffee up here, you can watch a full unedited version of this. Nah, let's get back watching this bit, eh? See you in a bit. Oh, is this Chris? Oh, this is his dad, I bet. SBD, silent but deadly. It's a lot of hard work, that, if he's just done that with hammer and chisel. I mean, that's how I used to do it in 90s, before hammer drills were as cheap as what they are. So we used to use hammer and nicker, and they do get your forearms big. So I'm tipping that's either Chris or his dad. Oh yeah, he's got one. He's got one. Why didn't he use it before? Unless he was just marking that line. What he needs, kids, is he needs a dust mask. So even when you're hacking off, you know, and it's a well-ventilated space, dust will still get on back of your throat. So always wear the correct PPE. He's got his gloves on, he's got his glasses. What he needs is a dust mask. Even if it's a shitty, cheap one, it's going to be better than breathing it all in like that. And especially being in an old house, because there could also be some asbestos present in the paint, textured finishes, any building materials that were manufactured before 2000. I'm going to go say year 2000. It is 2000, isn't it? Or is it 2002 or 8? No, it's 2000. I'm sure it is. I'll check it and I'll put it in notes. And I have done my asbestos course. I've just forgot. Yeah, isn't it? Again, invest in some shoes with steel toe caps, because especially if you're dropping render, if it's heavy render, you could end up with some broken toes. And if you play football or rugby, it's hard to run with broken toes.
Hello, so it's now Sunday. I was tired yesterday and didn't film what it was like when we have finished up here, so I've come back today because I'm measuring up for some flooring, going to B&Q this afternoon. Also did a big screw fix order last night. Anyway, sorry, besides the point, come back today, thought I would show you what state things are in. So in the hallway we've got all the plaster off where it needs to be. Not sure what has gone on there in the past, but something clearly. In here, this is a blockwork wall, because originally the stairs would have come down and they've changed the stairs and bricked that up. So the plaster came off very strangely in there. All in there, and in here we've got a big corner of this wall missing, weirdly. Don't know what's happened there. That was all just filled in with plaster.
So what he needs to do is, one of the things he needs to do is what we do, and damp proofing guy might do it. These gaps in flooring here, they need filling in with polyurethane foam, and then it's slicing off level when it's cured, and that will stop any cold damp air coming up.
And if I bring you around here, this is the same as the other side of the wall, because there it changes to stud work. You can't damp treat stud work. You can damp treat bricks though. And yeah,
you could do in theory. What you can do is you can take the plasterboard off and stick it on with waterproof acrylic, such as dry grip, and then you've not got a screw going through that could potentially cold bridge or stuff like that, or if it gets rusty, if your timber gets wet and it gets rusty, show up as rust spots all the way up. But yeah, these things you could do, but I think if timber were wet, it'd probably rot anyway.
yeah, originally there would have been a doorway here. You can see across there, it sort of lines up with that. And then that big line down there, that needs fixing because that's appalling before they can plaster over it. But basically, we took the plaster off up to there and just realised it was really loose the whole way up there. So we just flicked it all off, because otherwise it's going to be a crap job for a plasterer to redo. So there's all that. And then finally, we've got this little bit here. I just need to ask the guy on Monday whether we need to take any off going towards the fireplace or along this wall.
I'd say take some off going towards fireplace. Issue you've got with them bits around your fireplace is the fireplace itself would have been an open fireplace and a bit bigger, so it had probably been as big as that fire surround. That would have been opening, and they'd have had a solid fuel fire in there at some point. And what they've done in the past is brick it up and then put that kind of gas fire in or electric fire, but there's no damp proof membrane in the bottom where the hearth is, so all that infill you get a bit of rising damp and then lateral damp because it's all solid, and as well as that you get sulfate salts, so your sides tend to get wet, and you need some kind of waterproofing isolation system put in on sides, not just a damp proofing system. Hiya, it's DampSam here. I've just come on just to tell you that DampSamcom is now up and running. We've got the Express damp proofing system course, designed by me, run by me, done by me. You can buy that. We've got the ultimate guide to black mold and condensation. You can pay what you want for it. And we've also got 3 free ebooks. And also we've got a guide to basement conversions, the ultimate guide to damp proofing, and also the podcasting series. You can get in contact with them, and the YouTube membership. Enjoy it, rest of your film.
And he said, since I'm not ripping the kitchen out, what I might as well do is wait until I am eventually ripping the kitchen out at some point in the future. And at that point, get them to come back in and assess it and see if it's drying out or not.
That is a good idea. If you're on a small budget, what we normally say is we'll work up to your kitchen units, and if the kitchen's a decent kitchen, it's pointless trying to take that out and then redo it. It's going to add to costs. So you've got like a full kitchen rip out and fit, and you've got to try and not damage it. It's a lot of time better to leave your kitchen units in. Then when you change your kitchen, address your issues if you've got any behind your kitchen units, base units, unless you've got a bad smell of mould, which may mean you're getting condensation forming behind your units, and you probably need to get some ventilation under them. So you can put some kicker boards, some vents on your kicker boards. You can get specially med-heated vents. There's a few things you can do, but if you can put up with that until you change your kitchen, then it'll save you some money in the long run.
not. So that was an instant saving. We also agreed not to touch inside here because I'm not paying to have the gas meter moved, and we're not touching this wall here at this side because it is so awkward for them to get to underneath the stairs.
Well, what I'd be doing, I'd be putting it once we've done work and then we issue a guarantee. We've got a place on our guarantees and it says special notes, and all this would be wrote down on your special notes. So the discussion that we've had between each other, because the last thing you want is him to sell a house and then they get the guarantee and an issue comes about on that wall or any walls in contact with that wall, and then new owner rings up and says, you know, this, and then he's trying to explain to her, oh no, we had this conversation, and she's thinking he's trying to avoid doing work or trying to avoid fulfilling his guarantee, and then it becomes an issue. So you need clarification. So get something wrote down, get him to sign it, and say, well, this was because you didn't want to move your gas meter. This was because we offered to get under there, but it was going to be extra because it's awkward. But you said no, leave it. Whatever they've agreed, get it in writing, get him to sign it. You sign it, date it.
He was happy with the state of this wall. The only things I'm going to do is peel off this black stuff.
That black stuff. So it does look as if they've just painted straight off at plaster, doesn't it? So I thought they'd hacked it off and painted it onto brickwork or something, but it looks like they've just gone straight off at top of plaster, which means plaster would have to come off, surely. Because it does look as if there's some sulfates on there as well.
I started, as you can see, I'm going to carry on get all that off. That's really comes off really easily. And we just need to pull the back boxes out of the walls because they're putting a membrane on this wall and it wants to go behind the back boxes. And this wall will be dry lined with new plasterboard anyway, so we'll be buying new back boxes, the UPVC ones, specifically for dry lining walls, because the plasterboard will come to about here. So obviously you don't want to be, as they've been doing, tying really far back to the back boxes. You want them further forward than that. On this corner here, so we are treating this wall at this side. Just need to take, where I've taken the plaster off, take it all the way around to just where this baton is here. So she needs to get this baton off and just get the plaster around, because he said basically if there is moisture in this wall, it'll force its way out through gypsum.
If there is moisture in that wall, it will force its way out. So again, it sounds like Chris is guessing. It sounds like Chris doesn't know how moisture affects walls. So if he's treating it as rising damp, the moisture from the ground, which mixes and the salts dissolve into the source of moisture, and that moisture wicks up the capillaries, and it gets to a certain point, and then it evaporates back out of the wall. It doesn't force it. Doesn't force its way out. I didn't force her. It doesn't force its way out. It just evaporates out. And if you've drilled and injected a DPC, that will stop any moisture or water from the ground coming up from that point. So then your moisture that's in your wall then will evaporate out. It doesn't force its way out. It doesn't piss out. It's not coming through at force. It's just evaporating out. And this is one of the fundamental things that I bang on about, is a lot of these people that are saying that they know about damp work and, you know, and damp experts, they just don't know how moisture affects, how different types of moisture affects walls, which is rising damp, penetrating damp, lateral damp, sulfate salts, leaks from pipes, lateral damp from high ground levels, just things like that. They're all different types, and they all need different systems. And it sounds like, again, this guy is guessed, and he's probably asked him, "Do you want to be on camera?" And he's gone, "Do I? Fuck. You know, I just want to get your fucking money, and I want to be away."
Some plaster, so if anything in this corner will come out through there, so might as well just take it all off. This wall, absolutely fine. Explained to him that we'd taken it higher because the plasterwork was just crumbling. Not a problem. And then over here, he asked if we could try and get the fire surround off and take this around the corner here so for them to treat it. But he said if not, you can just go up to the fireplace, but that makes it more difficult in terms of finishing it off without getting the fire surround covered in plaster. But
No, that's not an issue. Getting it covered in plaster. I mean, what sort of plasters are they using? You just clean it down. But that fire surround should just be screwed to the wall and just a couple of brackets on either side, so that just lift off, and it would be easier for that to come off. As in our video next week, when you'll see a property that I did that had a fire surround similar to that, and what we did around the fireplaces.
I'm potentially replacing this for a beautiful cast iron Victorian one. And then finally, everything in the hallway is as was discussed. So we're all good to go. So today the first job is to get those other little bits of plaster off that I've just shown you, and then get all of the rubble cleared up that you've seen across that last clip. Bagged up and taken outside. My dad's in the process of trying to find someone to take it. We know quite a few farmers, and often they like to have a bit of rubble on hand to fill in potholes on tracks and whatnot. So yeah, we're going to ring round and see if anyone wants it, because if not, I'm just going to have to pay to take it to the local recycling centre, which is a cost I'd rather avoid if I can, but if I can't, I can't. There's no real hardship. And then what?
Well, it says you're going to take it to local recycling centre. Sure, you don't have to pay to put it in a local tip, do you? I didn't think you did, but just get a skip. Order a skip, £100 or whatever. What would it be for a? I bet you'd get a skip for £100, like 2 tonner or something, and just bang it all in there.
Once we've got all that cleared up, take the floorboards up, to carry on seeing what's underneath them. But I've only got a few hours because I'm going to my friend's this evening. However, it is the bank holiday, so potentially busy tomorrow, but potentially back on Monday. But yeah, you will see as the video continues. So, got the plaster off the walls, got all the rubble bagged up, all the plasterboard bagged up, and it feels a whole lot tidier in here before we start taking the floorboards up. Just give you a quick pan round. So it's all gone from over there and down there, just wants a sweep. In here, all the plasterboard's gone, all the rubble that I'd got up, and the whole room feels massive now. There's Dad. The floor's up in the front room. I'm just about to leave, but I thought I'd better show you before I do. Let me turn you around. Here we are. We've cleared out some of the crap that...
Let's have a look here then. What we got here. So, if it were me, I won't just clear out some crap. I'd have it all cleared out. Looks like he's got an earth oversight. So the oversight is the floor of the subfloor. And in older houses, it used to be just built off of the earth, and the earth just left there. And you do get a lot of humidity coming off of that. So one of the things you can do with an oversight like that is to clear everything out, get all debris out, and then get a damp-proof membrane and put your damp-proof membrane underneath your joist and lay it on top of your floor. And then just put a couple of bricks down, just hold it there. And that will reduce the humidity within your subfloor, but make sure you've still got adequate ventilation in there. And there should be a minimum of 1 every 1.8 meters along your external walls.
There was a whole box that this new fireplace had come in, and the old fireplace. I've got to be careful here because I don't want to fall. I can hear my dad's lurking in the hallway.
It's not, it's me singing.
That's the joist down there, look. And here's the water pipe.
Right, so that probably needs replacing. So, or splicing. So cut it here, and then put I don't know, between 300 to 600 mil joist bolted to there, and then a new pocket cutting in there, sat on a DPM and wedged in place to allow air to run around it. You can paint end with a liquid DPM. Don't wrap it, whatever you do.
Point, the water pipe's burst. And that's what's washed away all this sub base. That's why this bit's so much higher than there.
I can just see down here. Just see that little bit of dark. That looks like a physical DPC.
And it's just rotted the end of this joist. But this is the only joist that's going to replace, and the rest of it is in.
Right, so when we're looking to see whether a property's got a physical DPC, one of the places that you can find out is if you take a floorboard up, just look any dwarf walls here, and what they used to use is what's on here, which is what's called a felt bitumen roll, and basically it's like roofing felt, and they used to put it on top of brick there, and then sit joists on, and that were your DPC, and then they'd have it in wall here, like here, and they'd probably have it in front wall as well. So anyway, where joist went in, it'd be sat on a DPC. But what happens is, outside, the ground levels over, since they built them 120 years ago, the ground levels have been raised, and it kind of bridges the DPC, and then that's why you have to have a retrofit one put in.
Good nick.
There's none on that one. Don't look like there's one on this one. Can't see it.
The floorboards, so I can reuse them. Hello, so it is now Monday the 4th of September, is it, or 5th? Anyway, it's Monday, it's the first week of September, and the damp specialists have been in and
Chris.
done their work. So since I was last here,
Chris,
taking the floors up, nothing's happened because this weekend I was away with all of my extended family, so yeah, and didn't really have anything to do until the damp specialists came in.
Chris.
However, the other thing to mention before I got onto the damp specialist work is that the electrician that I told you about in the previous vlog, I was going to contact one. He has been out, and it was actually the wiring that the rubber was on top of that was the issue, and the dodgy junction box. So he's rewired what needs to be. He's also earthed the cold feed into the kitchen sink because that hadn't been done, and just made sure it's all safe, and it is, which is brilliant. So he's taken all the face plates off the sockets as well, because he said they were.
It's a fucking damp video.
Corroded, which I knew they were.
Let's find out what Chris has done.
I think I already mentioned I'm replacing all the sockets anyway, so that was fine. So he's basically just said leave that circuit switched off until you've got the replastered and got the sockets back on after that. So yeah, that's sorted, and that only cost me £90, so was really happy with that. I was expecting a bigger bill. So yes, can't complain, and also happy with the work that the damp specialists have done. So
Chris,
let me turn you around and show you. So in the front hallway, as you can see,
because it must have said that he was just doing that one wall in membrane then, because this one's been done in sand and cement render with probably got an additive in, which is more or less bulletproof. This is what I used to do when I first started, and probably did it for the first 10 years. Sand and cement render guard gold in it, and it's brilliant. Apart from when you put it on kind of external solid brick walls.
See, they've put on their waterproof render.
It's damp-proof render. It's not waterproof.
This just blocks any moisture from coming through.
It doesn't. It allows water vapour to go in and out, unless it puts a polymer modified slurry on it, and that would block any moisture coming through.
There's also a damp-proof course that's been put in at the bottom of it, so it's all the way through here and all the way in the front room along this wall here and here. And they've put a piece of wood in place just to hold it all in place, but that part of the archway has been done, so I have to be careful because these joists are precarious. And they've done that all the way around there. Then I'll take you in the rear reception room in a minute. Ooh. That was close. In this corner here, they've put the membrane on, so rather than using the render, this membrane just stops any moisture from protruding through. Forgotten the reason why they wanted to use membrane there, but they know what they're talking about, so they've done...
Do they? Or are they guessing?
That. So that will need dotting and dabbing with plasterboard, and then plastering over the top, and then all of this replastering up here as well. And then I am literally walking a tightrope here. They have done this bit here on the corner of the chimney breast.
Yeah. Should mind you, they might have put some damp proofing slurry on. Don't look as if I can see any brush marks for it, but looks like they've just put render guard gold on. A render with a waterproofer in it got me at it now. Fucking damp proofing additive in it. Could have issues with that in years to come. If it's got lateral damp and if it's got some sulfate salts coming through, there could be issues with that.
Sorry for the jangling, got my keys in my hand.
Jingle,
yeah, this corner of the chimney rest here, because that needed doing as well. And then, again, just being careful.
It's stood up marble, it's a fucking brick.
There we go.
So what are you doing?
Finally, in here, they've used the membrane because this wall is going to be dry lined with fresh plasterboard. So basically it was damp the whole way across there, so they've put in a new damp proof course and also the membrane.
And to be fair, they've realised that it were an old chimney, and it's put a membrane up that middle to stop any sulfate salts coming through. So props and hats off to Chris for that. He's covered his back by doing that.
And then where the chimney breast has been taken down, it still remains at the other side of the wall in the adjoining property. And so that wall is still damp because that chimney breast must be drawing moisture through.
No.
And so they've membraned all the way up to the ceiling there. So yeah, that'll just be dot and dabbed with fresh plasterboard the entire wall. And then, the plasterboard will just be given a skim coat of plaster. So yeah, my sister's partner's dad.
Ken Dodd's dad's dog's dad's dead's dog's dad.
So her potential father-in-law, maybe one day, is a plasterer and has been for 40 years. So
fucking hell, I wonder if I know him. Same amount of time I've been doing it. I can't wait to see him. I bet we know each other. Both doing it at the same time. We started at the same time, me and Ken Dodd's dad's dog's dad's father-in-law.
I'm going to ask him if he can come and have a look at replastering this for me, because obviously it will be the best price because he's not going to rip off a potential future in-law.
How dare you say that plasters rip people off? That's slander. That's slander, Chris. Slander. Plasters don't rip anybody off. We're genuine. All other trades, probably. But not fucking plasterers.
and also he's a lovely guy, and I know that he'll do a really, really good job, which is more important. So yeah.
Never work for fucking family and friends. Never work for family and friends. They're the worst jobs. They want it doing for fucking nothing. They don't tip you. Don't do it for family and friends. Just a tip. That's plastering.
Need to get him to come have a look and give me a quote for how much that's going to cost. And in the meantime, start getting some floors put down. However, my dad, who has basically been my free labour, bless him, and guiding light, because he is far more handy than I. He has a lot more experience than me, given that my experience was next to none.
That's what dads are for. That's why dads have kids, so we can do all the DIY and stuff like that in their houses.
My parents are going away for 10 days, so yeah, basically there's no chance of anything really happening because I'm not capable of putting a floor back down on my own. I'll probably do it wrong, and also there's a joist that needs replacing. In fact, let me show you where the rotten joist was. They've actually snapped it off. Let me turn you around.
Probably stood on it.
So as you can see here,
yeah,
they've literally just
a nearly broke pipe.
There, I need to remove that. So yeah, this joist here needs replacing, obviously, before I can do anything else. And then the floor just needs putting back down in this room and through into the...
I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done that job with that floor like that, unless they put some boards down. But yeah, I wouldn't have gone in there. It'd have had to be right for me to do it.
There as well, where it's taken up. So in the meantime, I think I'm going to do a bit of decorating with my friends in some of the rooms that haven't been...
Painting party, is it?
And the kitchen maybe. Just so that there is some stuff going on. And yeah, that's really going to be it for a couple of weeks. So I think what I'll do is, we're at a bit of a natural pause now, so I'll end the vlog here. But great progress so far. The floors are up, plaster's off the walls have been sorted by a damp company. So almost all of the major works are done. The remaining major work is putting the floor back down, which I don't want to jinx myself, shouldn't be too terrible. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.
Thanks for doing video.
I'm not sure when the next one will be, as I say, because it's going to be a while before.
Look forward to it.
Get more momentum.
It's easy for you to say.
And yeah, I will see you again very soon with another video.
So, I hope you've got some value from that. If you're going to be buying a property, if you've watched this, I hope you've got some tips from what I've been saying. I hope you've seen some things what not to do and some things what to do. And if you've got 1 ounce of value from this video, then it's been worth me doing it, hasn't it? Sitting here and not earning a penny. Talking about not earning a penny, if you want to help us, join our membership one, and you can see all these videos uncut, which they're a lot funnier stuff when they're uncut. So for the price of a coffee, I know we're in dark times when it comes to money, but don't have a coffee and join our membership. Give me a coffee instead, and it all helps. It all helps. And if there's anybody out there that wants to sponsor this podcast, get in touch, because your name could be on here, it could be on podcast itself. So if you have anything to do with damp industry, get in touch and we'll have a chat, and we'll see what we can do, because we're always looking for sponsors. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode of DampSamReacts on YouTube, and I'll see you on next one. Next one's going to be a, what do they call it, one? It's not going to be a reaction one. It's going to be me doing an actual bit of work, because I know people like that. So I'll see you next week. Bye bye now.